Practically out of players. They have your
Vincent. Vincent's in the house this morning. How you doing, brother? Good to see you here. Good morning. Goeiemorgen. Goeiemorgen, dames en heren. Vanuit het Netherlands and throughout the world here this morning. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining me on this Monday edition of Morning Magic the Gathering Talks and Stocks, brought to you in part by MTG Stocks Premium Mythic Edition. Brody Alphonso is wishing you a happy Monday. Let's get your day started right here this morning. Thanks for getting up with me and dragging me along for the ride. Benson, how you doing, brother? Nice to have you in the stream here this morning. The stream is getting ready to go. I went to the gym on the weekend and I'm trying to get a little bit more flexible, so I asked my trainer if they could help me train to do the splits. They asked me how flexible I was. I told them, I'll see you next Tuesday. That's how flexible I am. I can come any other day of the week but today. So I'll give it a try next week, Tuesday. Crime in parking garages is on the rise in the world, and that's bad on so many levels. It's not even funny. I think it's about time we raise the security levels of parking lots in general. But wherever you've got me this morning, you can feel protected and rest assured that you've got the stream coming in live no matter where you are coming in from. I want to thank you for taking me along for the ride. Whether you got me duct taped to the snow shovel this morning, hanging from the rear view mirror, perhaps you've got me in the back seat of the car, dragging from the bumper. Wherever you are, it's not that hard to join me in the morning. If you've got to get up and go, you might as well get up and know what's going on in the world of Magic the Gathering. Got some news articles here for you today, but just like we like to do every single morning when we start the show, we got to warm up just a little bit here this morning and make sure we've got everything coming in just right. All right, already, let's go. Let's do it. Let's start this day off. It's Monday, hair of the dog. Let's get ready to kick Odie and get ourselves a bowl of lasagna. We're going to take a look at some AI generated magic cards here with you folks this morning. And if you haven't tuned in once already, you know how it goes. If the card is playable any way whatsoever, even if it's a little bit overcosted, perhaps it's just a little bit underpowered, overpowered, underpowered, okay. But functionally, we're going to give it a pass. You'll hear this sound. The sound of the dinger. Pleased to meet you this morning, dinging and singing along with the stream. And if the card has got any gibberish on it whatsoever, if it's got some mumbo jumbo, gobbledygook, non functional junk text, we're going to fail it. If it doesn't meet the criteria, you'll hear this sound. The buzzin', cousin. All right, let's not fail that criteria. Nice to hear you this morning here in the stream. If you know what I mean, it's Brody Alphonso coming to you live from the stock desk here. Let's get things happening. We doing a day off today. It's President's Day. Nice, nice. Well, it's good to take at least a day off to appreciate all the elderly folks out there every once in a while. Nice to have you with us here this morning. Let's get this Cameratu coming in properly here this morning. All right. What do we got here? We got AI generated magic card persuasion. Persuasion. Well, if we could persuade you to join the stream here this morning, that would be fantastic. Fantastic here this morning. Nice to see you, Benson. Let's get the chat going here this morning. Make sure that's running right. All right. This is an artifact. In fact, this is an artifact. It's colorless in nature. It costs X mana. X manas for this one. Artifact X and tap it. Persuasion deals X damage to target player or planeswalker. Just straight up tap it. Hey, the mana cost of X doesn't really make too much sense because why would you play it for anything other than 0? Perhaps. Or maybe you have to pay the mana cost that you spent on it. Perhaps that's where they're going with this. If you cast it for 1, you can tap it for 1. But you got to pay X into it each time. Fortunately, that's not the way the Magic the Gathering works, folks. With this one here, the casting cost could essentially be 0. Get it onto the battlefield, and you got to pay X into it to X damage. It seems all right in principle, but it should have a little bit more of explainer text on it here this morning. It should say like pay X when you cast this card, you imprint X, and then you can pay it again to do that much damage. But it's not quite there. Let's fail it. Let's give it a fail here this morning. People have been asking me, Brody, are you an optimist? I sure hope so. optimistic about this card. Fair, underpowered, OP, non-functional. I'm going to give it a non-functional. Some people say it's OP, but I don't think it functions at the junction just like it should. That brings us to our next candidate here today. What do we got here? Light Transfull. This is full of it. Full of it. I went to buy some camo pants at the store this weekend, but I couldn't find any. They were well hidden in disguise. This one here, the Light Transfull Merfolk creature, it's got no power and toughness. Fish Ghost Rider. It's totally Fish Ghost Rider. It is. Let me grab my coffee here. Have a little sip here this morning. What does it say? It's already it's not looking promising for this merfolk here this morning. It's got no power and toughness. It's gonna need a little power, little toughness in there. All right, instants and sorcery spells you control have crew. Instants and sorcery spells you control have crew. And if a spell cast this way would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. Oh my goodness. What are we going to do with this one? Looks troublesome. Troubling. All right, how are you going to crew with a spell? I don't know. But you can pay 1 red and destroy Light Transfull if you do create X11 goblin creature tokens with lifelink. So far, not too pretty good. It's not too pretty good. We're going to have to fail this one. Let me see how Stallion Mang. How you doing this morning, Huckleberry Magic Hound? We're rating magic cards this morning. We're warming up on the stream here this morning. You know what I mean? Pharaoh OP, underpower, non-functional, missing a power and toughness on it. We got a split card. Like I said, I went to the gym over the weekend, trying to improve my flexibility. I asked the trainer if they could teach me how to do the splits, and of course they asked me how flexible I was. I told them I'd come back on Tuesday. Takes a lot of balls to golf the way I do. I'll tell you, they end up in the bush and everywhere else. But this split card here comes in on 2 parts. The first one looks like a battle. For 1 blue and 1, you got Kaya Leop of Iroas. Kaya Leop of Iroa. It's a 4-point battle. As a siege enters the battlefield, choose an opponent to protect it. You and others can attack it. When it's defeated, exile it and cast the transform. Whenever you gain life, draw 2 cards. Holy smokes, that seems pretty powerful. So you defeat this battle, and whenever you gain life, you draw 2 cards. Is that how that works? Then you get this, the 3/2 fiery pirate, disciple of the Necropolis. Flying instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. This seems okay. Why not? What do you folks think? Let's pass it. Every time you gain life, you draw 2 cards on the defeat of said battle. And then if this sucker transforms, you're going to get yourself a disciple of Necropolis. Good morning, Solar Splendor. Nice to see you here, being a friend and splendid. Let's give this one a fair rating. Fair. Some people say it's OP, gaining life and drawing 2 cards. Too much action happening. Can we just get a classic MTG back and the front can be the front again? I'm over the flip cards. Sleeves never were so important as they are now in the game. Colossal Doom. I got fired once from a job at a calendar factory. All I did was take a day off. And most people are shocked to find out how bad I am of an electrician. Not very good at that either. It takes a lot of balls to golf the way I do. So if you folks end up in the bush as much as I do when you're on the golf course, then this card could be for you. Colossus of Doom. Return of all permanents to their owner's hand. You lose 16 life. Wow. I don't even know what to say. It cost you a black and a green and one for this at instant speed. This so powerful, but is it overpowered? Hard to say. Returning all permanents to the owner's hand. Well, that if that's not adding insult to injury, you're getting to lose 16 life. I think this is fine. I'm going to give it a pass because the best way to add insult to injury is when you're signing somebody's cast. Make sure you put that down. All right, let's pass it. I just got the notification YouTube is slow. Helps Death Shadow. Well, I suppose it does. Colossus of Doom. Let's see what the player rating is on this one. Good morning, Michael Superbacker. Nice to see you here this morning. We're rating AI generate in Magic cards. And this one here is a little bit surprising. 16 life, return all permanents to your owner's hand. That's all it's going to cost to do it at instant speed. Pretty good. This includes lands and everything else. Fair, OP. I think it's fine. And then just the cheese, right? No surprise here. If you look at the elephant and the cheese on this one. This one's kind of funny. The elephant who takes the cheese. This is a green and 2 for Joss the Cheese. Joss the Cheese. Create a 3/1 red elemental elephant creature token named Hot Nights. Eyes of Black with Swamp Walk. Hot Nights. I just got the notification. Thanks for joining us here. All right. This is hilarious. At least they make me laugh. Okay, quit jossing me, brother. All right, this Joss the Cheese gives you a 3/1 elemental elephant token named Hot Nights, Pies of the Black. With Swamp Walk, you get a sorcery speed elephant. It seems a little bit underpowered. Could be better. Holy smokes. The cheese stands alone on this one. I mean, it works. It's just not that strong. Let's pass it. All right, let's pass it. Man, needed to take a long, hard look at this magic card here. And people who use selfie sticks really need to take a long, hard look at themselves, I would say. Jossing the Cheese here, underpowered, I would say. Oh, quit jossing me there, Huckleberry Magic Hound, because we've got the cockate corlicat. Holy, some cacophony coming in this morning. Burned 2,000 calories over the weekend. How did you guys make out? Did you get a little bit of rest and relaxation? Did you work out? I burned 2,000 calories. That's the last time I leave brownies in the oven while I'm taking a nap. That's one way to do it. The Chache Choco Chache Corlicat cost you 1 blue and 1 for this enchantment, and when Chache Corlicat enters the battlefield, you get to look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order, and at the beginning of your ups, you may reveal a card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom in a random order. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you may create a token that's a copy of a creature you control, except it has this ability. Wow, this is going to be copying itself. And then what ability? Copy of a creature, except it has this ability. So you get to copy a creature on the battlefield, and then each turn it's going to copy itself again or another creature and replicate. Seems OP. All right. You look at the top 5, you get a card to your hand, rest on the bottom, and then during your upkeep, you create a token that's a copy of a creature you control, except it has this ability, so it just keeps copying and copying and copying. Too sloppy to copy this one here, but it's definitely overpowered. I'm going to give it a ding because it seems okay. OP. And then a little bit of another split card here. We're tired of the split cards. Is that what you folks said? I mean, I mean, the last thing I want to do is hurt your feelings, but it's still on the list. This card here is split card. Problem with split cards. All right. Over the weekend, I had a man knock on my door. He asked for a small donation towards the local swimming pool. So they were doing some fundraising. I gave him a glass of water. Figured that would help him out. Anointer's Quay, legendary land. What do you get with Anointer's Quay? When it enters the battlefield, you search your library for up to 3 basic land cards and put them on the battlefield tap. Wow, that's really good. And then you can tap it for 2 mana of any color. And it doesn't come into play tapped, which seems really good. Or you can just play it on the other side of Hull of Poor Capery. Poor Capery. When it taps for a red whenever Hull of Poor Capery attacks, draw a card. Oh, it was so good up until we saw the second half. Sort of like the Super Bowl. I'm reading a book on anti-gravity. It's pretty interesting. It's very hard to put down. I really can't turn away from it. But this one here, it's gonna get the buzz. Unfortunately, it was doing good until we saw the second half of this card. I would say OP as it is, but if it doesn't attack, it's not a land. I mean, suppose if you could animate it somehow, I guess it's gonna be okay. But this one here, Feral Reaper, reaping and creeping into the stream for this 3/3 here this morning. Now, how does this sit? How does this sit for you? We got 2 black and a blue and 1 white for this flashing 3/3 with flying dragon. Feral Reaper, nice border on it, decent watercolor art by the looks of it. Oye, como va? ¿Qué tal, hot dice? Este viene. ¿Qué tal, hot dice? How you doing? Este viene esta mañana. All right, we got the Flash flying 3/3 for 4 mana, legendary dragon. If you would gain life, you gain twice that much life because gaining life is nice, but twice the life is nicer than spice. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on a kobold, return target aura card from your graveyard to your battlefield. No problem. Lo mismo a mi hermana, too. Aw, you're missing your brother. That's sad. I'm doing pretty good here this morning. Maybe if we start telling people their brain is an app, they'll start wanting to use it. And I didn't think orthopedic shoes were really going to help me, but I stand corrected. I'm feeling a little bit better now. Do we pass this thing? 1 or more +1/+1 counters put on a kobold. Return target aura card from your graveyard to your hand. I guess this would be good in a kobold enchantment deck. No problem, right? Let's pass it. How much brain is an apple? Munch, munch. What's the community rating on this card? Fair. I thought so. And Aura Voyage. Is it Aura Voyage or Aura Voyage? For the sorcery, you pay 2 blue and 4. Return all creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Players can't cast spells from graveyards this turn. All creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. It should be black. I mean, why isn't it black? It should be black. It could be black. This one seems quite good, except for the fact that it's in the wrong color as far as reanimation goes. All right, the reanimation station continues. Let's give this a pass. If you ask me, this card is just quite fine. And what else we got here? Should we do one more? Maybe we'll do one more. The Headley Ranger. This this one made me chuckle. All right, the Headley Ranger. Should be a mana dork, right? Should be a dork. I like it. It costs you 1 green for the Headley Ranger. It's a human wizard 1/1. So like, he has just got his head down and he's like, he taps, add no mana of any color. No mana of any color for you. This thing's underwhelming. It's no good. I mean, I guess functionally it is a magic card. It meets all the criteria except he's. Let's give it a pass, but unfortunately, he's just going to be underpowered. Underpowered here this morning. That feels all right. I hope you had a good night last night, folks, and I want to thank you for joining me. Goedemorgen vanuit het Netherlands. And thank you for those folks tuning in from across the way. This is the morning Magic the Gathering talks and stocks. Do you like tracking the prices of Magic cards? Is there enough information out there, or is there just too much information? Let me do it for you. I'm doing it here on the weekdays, each and every morning on the morning show with you folks, fine fans of the game, beautiful people, those of you who like to crack open packs and shuffle up stacks of Magic the Gathering cards. You know, it's not too hard to join me here in the morning, wherever you are. I want to thank you for dragging me along for the ride, whether you got me in your back pocket, duct taped to the snow shovel, perhaps on the dash of the car, dragging from the bumper. Maybe you're heading to the water cooler right now to discuss the haps over the weekend. Wherever you are, my friends, I want to thank you again for tuning in. It's going to be a good show. I got to ask you, what do you call people who look after chickens? Are those chicken tenders? Perhaps they are just a little bit more tender than the rest of the types of friends we keep. I got kicked out of a secret society over the weekend. I spilled the beans and they asked me to leave. So we're going to bring you a little bit of a weekly recap here this morning. A weekly recap from everything that happened over last week. These are your weekly winners, folks. And I want a big shout out and a thank you to the folks over at MTG Stocks. Brody has been lifted and elevated to the next level, and it's going to bring the show even more excitement and information. I've been discovering the new sponsorship that we received from MTG Stocks, and now we are running premium edition, premium mythic edition, with all the features unlocked and available to us. So we're going to be starting to use those and explore together what we can do when we're tracking the prices of Magic cards. So thank you to Arjun over at the stock desk for picking me up on his shoulder and helping me see just a little bit farther down the horizon. For you folks, in order to track the prices of Magic cards, you must perhaps stand on the shoulders of giants. And we will be doing that here with a special thank you to our sponsor from MTG Stocks Premium Edition. Let's head over to this news article today where we're going to just do a recap on the weekly winners from last week because it's Monday and we need to know what is going on this week. And to do that, we got to know what happened last week. How did that turn out? These are your winners from last week as we see it. All right, we're going to talk about a couple of cards here. He's looking at the birds of paradise like, how can we get some mana? No. He lowers his head. All right, and what's a frog's favorite type of shoes? That would be open-toed sandals. But get your shoes on, grab a stick of juicy fruit, maybe a cup of coffee. The show is going to move you here this morning. It's going to be a good one. These are your weekly winners. A recap from last week. Let's see what Arjun, the big guy over at the stock desk, has to say. Is this week has it all? Oh, it's got it all. Modern, standard, pioneer. It's got everything you folks could ask for. this week. Excellent. Just like every week, just in time for F&M. If you didn't go, I went to Saturday Night Magic. We're playing Saturday Night Magic these days, and there is some Monday Night Magic. We're going to be talking about the cards that made the talk of the town over last week's excuse me, the cards that made the talk of the town over last week's. Number one mover. This card, we've seen it a couple of times. It's no stranger to us, the Scion of Draco. Here's a card that we've been tracking with help of the stock desk for a couple of weeks since the spoiler of the ley line of the guild pack came out. That seems to be the card that's moving the Scion of Draco. It was up 470% the week before, hitting all the way up to $30. And now this card is up another 197%, according to the stock desk. And this card is quite powerful. It's a very wild card, and from Modern Horizons 2. I mean, it doesn't want you to pay 12 mana. Who doesn't want to pay 12 mana for a 4/4 flying creature? It even buffs all your other creatures. What else are you going to do for 12 mana anyway? All right, so this is a 4/4 flyer for 12. That's what it'll cost you to cast this sucker. Now, with the new Leyline of the Guild pack, of course, we're not casting it. And for 12 mana, we're going to probably end up casting it for 2. And it's got this great domain ability that says each creature you control that's white gets vigilance, hexproof if it's blue, lifelink if it's white, or lifelink if it's black, and first strike if it's red, trample if it's green. So this wild card from Modern Horizons 2 costs 12 mana, and who doesn't want to pay 12 mana for a 4/4 creature? It buffs all your other creatures, and what else are you going to do with all that mana you saved up over the weekend anyway? All right, in December 2021, Scion of Draco was already showing up in the weekly winners when it was included in a calibrated blast deck. Let's just double check. Let's get calibrated here this morning. Let's double check. What's this? What are we blasting here? There's a red card. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-land. Put the revealed cards on the bottom of your library in a random order. When you reveal a non-land card this way, calibrated braided blast deals damage equal to that card's mana value to any target, and it's got flashback. So this Scion of Draco was included in the deck a couple of weeks ago because if you hit the blast, you could be dealing 12 damage to your opponents. And if you're interested, you can see that recent deck list here. All right. So if you want to check out the deck list using calibrated blast, you can check it out here. But the Scion of Draco has more text on it. We just glance over. A very important part of this artifact is the fact that it has domain. Domain being very popular now is what we call zoo decks, or decks that play all different colors, making it 2 cheaper for each basic land type on the battlefield, meaning that if you have 5 types on the battlefield, it only costs you 2, and that's what we're going to want to play it with. Back in September, it also showed up in the weekly winner. So this card has been quite popular for some time. When the 5-color decks became extra popular in Commander because of cards like Joda the Unifier. Joda the Unifier and Jared Carthalion. Legendary creatures you control get +X, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control. And whenever you cast a legendary spell from your hand, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a legendary non-land card with lower mana value. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost, put the rest on the bottom in a random order. So a 5-color commander works well in that type of deck. And this is Jared the Carthalion. A little more manly looking, this 5-mana planeswalker. Cost you a Wooburg to play it, 5 loyalty. +1 creates a Kavu creature token with trample. That's all colors. And oh wow, So the Kavu, the 3/3 Kavu with all colors gets every single ability off of the Scion. Wow. So no wonder this card is going up with synergy like Jared to the Carthalion and Leyline of the Gruul pack, including with Joe to the Unifier, since the printing of this Magic the Gathering card and this Triumph cycles, where a single land has 3 basic land types written on it, this becomes particularly interesting to include in domain decks. This week we see the Scion of Draco shooting up another. Last week we saw the Scion of Draco shooting up because of a new card, which is the Leyline of the Guild Pack, and it's been hailed both as amazing and downright bad by a player. And time will tell whether it will end up being good or bad. We saw both sides of the argument with the Leyline of the Guild Pack in an article featured here last week. But nevertheless, it's an interesting card. As you can expect from a Leyline, you are allowed to put it directly onto the battlefield if it's in your opening hand, which makes it a little bit difficult to play around if that's the only way you're going to do it. Leylines in the late game don't seem too good, but it makes your non-land permanents every color and your lands every basic type. Do you see where this is going? Well, with Scion of Draco, it means you're going to have the Leyline of Guild Pack in your opening hand. You can cast the Scion for 2, and not only that, since your creatures are now every single color, they receive the buff that Draco has to offer. A couple of deck lists here. Here's one for you folks. Are you playing the Leyline of the Guild Pack? Let me know. I haven't got any. I haven't opened any. I don't know. I think it'd be a kind of a card that I would want to hold on to if I opened it, because who knows where this thing can go. It's already up to $30 from the Murders of Karloff's Manor, and this might be the hottest card of the set. A lot of people are saying that this is a stinker. Not at that price. $30 for a standard card's too high. I always said $25 for a standard card seems to be about the max ceiling. Like a card like Carnage Tyrant, when it was in standard, was pushing the $30 to $40 mark. So a new card like this, Leyline, Hot Dice says, not at that price. No way, no how. You'd be selling it? All right. Interesting and left. The interaction with the Leyline and the Guild Pack and the Scion of Draco has it been picked up in modern Crashing Football's decks, among others. Both Draco and the Leyline can be hit by a Cascade spell in the deck. I guess you could Cascade into the Leyline for sure. And if the Leyline also enables the Leyline Binding, which is this removal card that costs 1 less for each color among permanents that you control. No, each land type among lands you control. So it's got domain on it. This is basically 1 mana, exile something at flash speed. So it can be pitched to Force of Negation because it's blue, another utility, or Force of Will. And if you draw it later in the game because these reasons, we see that Leyline of the Guild Pack may move up in price and it has moved up in price in the past weeks. How far can it go? Is it going to go beyond the $30 mark? We'll have to keep an eye on it to see. It hit the $30 mark here just last week, and these are the hottest cards in the new standard format from the Murders at Karloff Manor set. Despite what people saying this set being a stinker, I actually see it getting quite a lot of attention. I don't play much 5-color good stuff myself. I love it. That's used. We call it the same thing. 5-color good stuff. Here's a card. Okay, so for myself, when I'm getting interested in a new set, like there's this new Thunder Junction set coming out, and now there's people with cowboy hats. Now, who can resist a Magic set with cowboys with cowboy hats? I know. I think this is right up my my alley. Good morning, Coach. Hope you had a nice weekend. I did. I went to the gym and I asked the trainer there if they could help me do the splits. She asked me how flexible I was. I said, I'll come back next Tuesday. Here's a cryptic code. All right. This card's popular. I think this card is quite good. When I'm interested in getting into a little bit of a new Magic set, sometimes I'll just buy a pre-release kit and that's it. And then I'll sort of see where things go from there. But this card was one that Mrs. Alphonso opened in her bundle pack. And I explained how good it was because one particular interaction that I noticed with this cryptic coat people are playing it with Stoneforge Mystic. So you can even perhaps get this into modern. It's an equipment card so that you can be put onto the battlefield with Stoneforge Mystic. Maybe it's another choice that you can search for rather than the Batter Skull. But the Cryptic Coat is interesting because it seems to help you wheel cards off the top of your deck. And this card is hot right now. As we can see last week, it was up another 500% here. It was part of one of our weekly winners. How else can you use this card? Well, there's a few ways to do it. It's pretty good and limited, but in a modern, perhaps this is going to be the choice target for the Stoneforge Mystic, which was recently banned. And usually I try to stay away a bit from cards that have not released yet or have been released recently because pre-selling prices don't often reflect the price of a card should be at. Perhaps, usually, we'll see that these prices are too high and that they come down pretty quickly after the release. In the case of Cryptic Coat, it seems like this equipment was severely undervalued. This is sort of like the way of the Ledger Shredder, a really decent blue card. Does that mean we have a Brody yoga episode tomorrow where we're doing the downward dog? No, tomorrow I'm going to a wedding for a couple of Wi-Fi engineers. The reception should be fantastic. While it turns out it makes sense that this card would probably be good in limited, formats don't always drive prices. You cannot buy cards in advance for it. But it turns out that this card is also pretty good in constructed formats, and for a blue and 2, you get to play it immediately and attach it to a creature that you cloaked from the top of your library. After which, it becomes a 3/2 because it buffs it on the front end. And that's not too bad, but when the creature gets dealt with, you get to return the coat to your hand for just 2 mana and play it again and again and again. We like to do stuff again and again. Show us the upward trend line. We see it appear in a bunch of standard decks, but also being tinkered with in modern and pioneer. Downward dog, upward trend line. This is my I bought a sheep. I bought a sweater from a sheep and got fleeced. Hoo yeah. Nicely done, Benson. All right, let's have some fun here this morning. What do you think about this card, Cryptic Coat? It could be a bit of a sleeper. I think this could go as high as the Ledger Shredder did. It seems like an underappreciated card from the new set, Murders at Karloff Manor, and there's a lot of hatred and a lot of disgust around this set, saying it was a flop. I'm going to have a little sip of coffee here with folks. Are you guys sympathetic to this card? Would you just ignore it? Are you apathetic to the Cryptic Coat? Does it feel like something you would want to keep or build with? Well, what's the difference between ignorance and apathy? I don't know and I don't care. Cryptic Coat, seeing a $6.25 price tag. And this next card here, the Hollow Henge Overlord. I tell you, a card that I found was quite good in the new set in green. Green seems very powerful. Pick Your Poison, a common card that seems very good and could be included in Commander. I don't really, I like cards that I like cards. I don't discriminate. Hollow Henge Overlord. So Pick Your Poison was another card that I thought was very good, especially in green. These limited bombs, like a common, clutch commons at limited can be quite good. And it turns out Brody's a bit of a limited player. I do quite well at it. I don't always play the color combinations that I like, but I have an ability to kind of just look at what I opened and put something decent together. Did you guys consider refusing to go to the gym as resistance training? All right. If somebody's asking you to go to the gym, you tell them I'm refuse. I'm resistance training by not going to the gym. This Hollowed Overlord, this one cost you 2 green and 4 for a 4/4 wolf. Wolf getting some support here this set. I like it. If you ever liked wolves, if you like Garuk, if you like to make 2/2, if you like feeding foods to the Wicked Wolf and making him indestructible, now maybe the set more than ever for you folks to finally get some Wolfie into your Magic the Gathering playstyle. Wolfie, I think that was the name of the dog off of Terminator 2. What's wrong? Hey mom, what's wrong with Wolfie? Wolfie's fine, honey. Come home. All right, this Hollowhenge Overlord for $16.40. That's quite an expensive card from a new set. Coming in at number 3, these are the weekly winners from last week. It's got Flash, and it's a 4/4, and at the beginning of your upkeep for each creature you control, that's a wolf or a werewolf, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. So this multiplies your wolves. Very hawkish on this wolf token. Perhaps this rare from Commander Innistrad Crimson Vow has been moving up quickly in the past week, especially the extended art print has been doing very well. And Benson, if you are still sitting on a bunch of Vow, here's a card that keeps trending up in price. You guys want to see the downward dog, the downward wolf, or perhaps the upward trend line? That's this one here. This card is making some moves. Is this the foil version? The extended art hitting up to $30 here. Go through your Crimson Vow. This is definitely didn't get one of those. Okay, this is definitely a card that is moving from the Crimson set. And you know how we talk about it here on the morning show? Sometimes it takes a couple of sets to come out to give some support to a set that was released just a while ago, and it gives it a little bit of time and support to move some of those forgotten cards from the underappreciated sets up. And this rare from Crimson Vow, a set that people actually, it's quite cheap to pick up Crimson Vow right now. Booster boxes and packs are at an all-time low as far as I can tell. As a sealed product, this set was dirted on and definitely underappreciated, which means, hey, if you're sitting on some of these wolf cards, they're about $14 to $15 with the new wolf support that's printed in Murders of Karloff Manor, and especially the extended art version of this one, doing very well. The Hollow Henge Overlord is a must include in any commander deck that revolves around wolves. The art and the ability it brings support to this type, it costs a whopping 6 mana, but when you play it and you pay that, you get to flash it in. So it's got flash, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you get to make a wolf creature token for each wolf or werewolf you control. So especially when you flash this in on a board with several wolves already, that can spiral out of control quite quickly, and people were already being aware because it wasn't exactly a bulk rare to begin with. A month ago, it was selling for $3, and I wouldn't say that that's expensive per se, but definitely more than bulk statuses. Looks like a precon card by the set symbol. Yeah? Yo, 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 Anger's in the house. They made commander decks that weren't in the precons, though. So the Wolf Tribal support, we got Voja, Jaws of the Conclave. We got Tolsmere, the friend to Wolves. And I opened Tolsmere in my pre-release pack, or my pre-release bundle, I call it. And then Yaris. Yarvis? Isn't that a Toyota? Toyota Yarvis, the Silver Moon Ranger. All right, mixing and flexing here on the channel. We got this 3/3 with Reach and Ward. I don't know what this one does, but we're going to read it. Whenever you cast a creature or planeswalker spell, venture into the dungeon, and it triggers only once each turn. And whenever you complete a dungeon, you get wolves. Like Wedding Ring, it's got a commander set symbol, but it can only be got in rando. They've been doing such weird stuff in the boosters. All right, the card was already found often in commander decks around Tolsmere, friend to the Wolves, Dire Overlord, and Varus of the Silver Moon. The new commander, it desperately wants to be played with Voya. The Jaws of the Conclave was printed in Karlov Manor and is an amazing new Wolf Commander card. Voya has been pushing more cards up the past week, and one of these is the Wolverine Riders. Oh, neat. The Wolverine Riders. Let's take a look. What's this from? Oh, it's a commander set. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 green elf warrior token. Whenever another elf enters the battlefield under control, you gain life equal to its toughness. It seems okay. Elfin support with the Wolven Riders, which you might also have been seen showing up in the interest in the last week, along with the Innistrad double feature Cemetery Prowler, a 3/4 with Vigilance, a wolf that enters the battlefield and attacks. You get to exile a card from a graveyard. Spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each card type that they share cards with, exiled with Cemetery Prowler. Oh, wow. This thing is Grave Hate on a stick and a rebate. Grave Hate with a rebate. Doesn't seem too bad to me. If you're interested in Voyage X, definitely give Adam Berg's an article. He's got some hidden gems, and he's talking about Jaws of the Conclave, the Voya new Wolf Commander. So I would definitely check out the article by Adam. I think we did look at it last week, so we can. If you guys head on over to MTG Stocks, you can catch that article there. We're going to discuss a couple of cheap pickups right now, and these are some notes that these are considered the price of the card over the past 7 years. Many cards were cheaper a decade ago. Also, they're still going down and might be even cheaper pickups next week. So what do we got here on the cheap pickups for this past week? Thanks to Arjun, this one's $2.60 and moving up. Target creature you control deal damage equal to the power to another creature. If excess damage dealt this way, discover X. Wow. Contest of Claws. It's a premium penny stock that's going to be featured in Kindred Discovery, an enchantment that enters the battlefield and you choose a creature type. When a creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, you get to draw the card. 5 mana enchantment, $4.50. Perhaps this is playable in a Merfolk deck. And then this other one, the Seasoned Pyromancer. Here's a card that was $20. See, this card has been falling in price for quite some time. It's heading down. And this was the rage, especially with the Mardu Pyromancer deck in Modern. It sort of rotated out of favor for the Seasoned Pyromancers. This is if we haven't forgotten about this card yet. Don't forget about it now. A little bit of a recap and a revisit for this one for you folks. It's on sale right now. It's been moving down and could go even farther. Been identified here by the stock desk as a premium pickup at $6.74, slowly moving down. The Mythic 2/2 enters the battlefield. This one draws you cards. It enters, you discard 2, and then you draw 2. For each non-land card discarded this way, you create a 1/1 red elemental creature token. So you get to draw 2, and then you pay 5 and exile the Pyromancer from your graveyard, and you get 2 more 1/1s. So the Seasoned Pyromancer, a little bit underpriced here, according to the stock desk. Arjun, here's the man who contacted the bro to the D to say, hey, we want you to try the premium stocks membership because you need a little bit of help on your Magic the Gathering finance journey. So a special thank you from Arjun vanuit Utrecht in the Netherlands. Arjun's been playing Magic since Ice Age and mostly played Legacy in format. 10 years ago, he founded MTG Stocks because he and his friends wanted to buy Magic singles at the right time to play with. So we got to give a special shout out to the founder of MTG Stocks for reaching out and hitting us up with a sponsor for the premium membership. And you might say, hey, Brody, what do you get with the premium Mythic membership? Well, I'm discovering there's some interesting features available to us now. Well, first of all, one thing I got to mention is you get the logo. You get this very nice logo here. So you get the premium membership. And then there's some interesting features that we now get with the premium membership, and we're going to start using this to track the prices a little bit better for you folks. You get all these premium, Brody gets all these premium features now that we've got the sponsorship from MTG Stocks. The premium membership, we get trends and price alerts. Trends and price alerts. We get minute movers, monthly interest, inventory interest, card kingdom interest. And you say, what are these? So these are not available if you have just the basic membership, but if you do decide to go premium, this is something we can look at. The month interest. So this is what I find interesting. You get these breakdown of these interests of cards over the month. So this is quite interesting. You get as a month of February 2024, February 19th, we get access to a little bit more data and some more lists. So that's quite useful for us on our Magic the Gathering finance version journey here. So you get the monthly interest. This will show you what cards are moving the most over the period of a month. And a little sneak peek at this here for you folks. We've got a couple of cards that are up almost 1,000%, including Shalai the Halar Extended Art. And you can even preview the cards here. So this card's up. You can see what cards are moving up over the course of a month. This is going to definitely help us on our journey here. Cards moving up over the last month from $1.87 to $19.50 is Shalai, as well as the regular version of it. So Shalai is hot. It's up over 1,000% over the last month. And Ghostly Prison, another card that's up 618% from Plane Chase in 2012. Nantuko Shrine, this is the one that works well with squirrels and has been recently bought out in Odyssey. I'd wait for a restock on that one, but the new price is $8.80. It was as high as $20, I think, and now it's up 500%. So these are the cards. This is a little bit more data that we get. And then this Dream Chisel, of course, the most heavy metal card in the game of Magic the Gathering from Onslaught, up 540% since last month. Spellweaver Helix. What does this card do? 3 mana imprint, mirrored in block. When it enters the battlefield, you may remove 2 target sorcery cards in a single graveyard from the game. When a card is played, it has the same name as the one in print. You may copy it and play the copy without paying its mana cost. So some of the features that we are going to be using here, different strokes, different strokes for different folks. Some of the features, the premium features that we're going to be using to track the prices of Magic cards include the monthly interests now. So we're going to be able to give you a rundown on that each and every month, just to give you folks a little bit of insight. And I would encourage you to head over there if this is at all interesting to you. You could even subscribe and get yourself a premium membership. Look, doth my eyes deceive me? I see off in the distance something. All right, the man who invented Velcro has died. RIP. Rest in peace. All right. And if you're ever attacked by a mob of clowns, make sure you go for the juggler. I see the ambassador, my ambassador of Quan out there. The dual brain here is in the stream this morning. I got my dual brain shirt on this morning because I'm feeling lucky. I'm feeling fine, frisky, and footloose, fancy free on this Monday, February 19th. Here joining me on the stream is another brother from another mother. That's the dual brain. So if you guys haven't checked out his channel, if you like to get into some box breaks, if you like different opinions on Magic the Gathering finance and different underplayed plays in the financial market of Magic the Gathering, I suggest you check it out. It's a good time. I'm a patron over there, and I enjoy getting in on the box breaks. That's my favorite thing about it. I wait for those box breaks because I like to get the minty, fresh Magic the Gathering cards. But nevertheless, let me ask you this question. Do you like tracking the prices of Magic cards? Is there enough information out there, or is there too much information? You can let me do it for you here on the morning show. We try to make your day just a little bit better by getting up and putting on a sweater and telling a few jokes here with you folks this morning and having a little cup of coffee. It's not too hard to get started. If you are going to get up, you're the working man. For the working man, you can do just like I do and take a look at these Magic the Gathering price trends for yourself, or you can join the discussion and feel free to leave a comment. All are welcome here. Let's get into some movers and some shakers here this morning. This is the time of the show where we like to tap our toe and we get to move and shake in our seat with me. It's the bro to the D here, getting a little energized to meet the week. A busy week this week, and I hope you folks do. We're going to be taking a look at the movers and the shakers. It's Modern Monday. So tap your feet and move in your seat wherever you are. I want to thank you for taking me along for the ride here this morning. We're going to take a look at the movingest and the shakingest cards on the movers and the shakers list for Monday, February 19th, 2024. And a whole lot more in store here this morning. Let's bring it up. Give me a second. Let's get some news articles up here in this. Get the good stuff. What days? You feeling hot this morning? All right, these are your movers and the shakers here this morning. Early warning. We're going to be having a little bit of a jingle here this morning. You know what I mean? A dung beetle walks into the bar and says, "Is this stool taken?" And the rotation of the earth really makes my day. I'll be frank with you. If I had to be frank with you, I'd change my name. I had a friend that was trying to explain electricity to me over the weekend, and I was like, what? You'd be shocked at how bad I am at electrical work. And did you know most people are born with a photographic memory? The problem is they don't take the time to develop it. But we can develop a little bit of discussion here on the Magic the Gathering Morning Show. MTG Talks and Stocks here with you folks. Today we're talking Modern Monday this morning. Have a little bit of a fun day. We got some shizo in the stream. A little shizo. Get yourself some shizo in the morning shizo. The morning shizo. Death's Stonehouse. This card's their mover and their shaker leading the pack here this morning on Monday. This one is up 8%. 8%. I got my dual brain shirt on. Look at this guy. This guy's looking good here this morning. The brain coming in all the way from Connecticut. Thank you for joining us. Shizo, the Death's Storehouse. Legendary land. This card is in black. And why is this card moving up? Let's discuss. Let's see here. What does it do for us? Shizo is a legendary land. Okay, perhaps a legendary land. A legendary matters deck, right? Target legendary creature gains fear until end of turn. It can be blocked except by artifact creatures and black creatures. Black and one black and tap it, you gain fear. Fear used to be quite good. It's often an overlooked mechanic from early in the game of Magic the Gathering. In fact, if you want to see the original card and the original art, we should look at it now because people are like, fear? Brody, is that even a card? No, we don't want this one. We want the one with all the skulls. Let's get the beta. Beta fear. Here's the card. So this was fear. It gains fear. So now in this day and age, they start to put the Mark Poole art on it. That you used to be able to give creatures fear with his enchant. For 2 black, target creature cannot be blocked by creatures other than artifact creatures or black creatures. It was a common card, but now it's a keyword ability. And just like any other in the game of Magic the Gathering. Fear, shadow, horsemanship, first strike, trample. Now fear is just something that you can get on a card. Voltron Commander decks. Dalton Stark. Nice to see you, Mr. Stark, here. How did you fare last week? I had some fun, and I've got a new deck brewing for the play group, so I'm going to be excited to try and run that out. Crazy cards, right? So this is done in the Voltron Commander deck. Crazy that cards become mechanics, right? What once took a whole piece of cardboard to gain that ability, now it just gets printed as subtext on a card. Let's shrink Brody down here this morning. Thanks for joining us here this morning. Dalton, another good buddy of mine with a fine taste for cardboard. This card has actually been much higher. Let's look at the price chart on it. It was $60 in and around just after the release of Modern Horizon. Then it took a little bit of a. Here's actually something. Oh, dust my eyes deceive me. Let's take a look at this here. So, stock patterns. We were looking at stock patterns. And here's one for you, the cup and handle. So now when we're talking about patterns we're not talking about patterns on your shirt. We're not talking about patterns on your pillow. We're talking about patterns in the stock market when we look at some of these charts. Here's the cup and handle chart. Now, this is another reading stock charts is a lot like looking in the rear view mirror. It is. And that's why accountants don't usually plan the business activities for forward looking at. They're usually looking in the mirror just to see what happened over the course of a quarter or a year or a decade. So stock market charts are almost a little bit like looking in the rear view mirror because you can look at the data of what once happened and try to disseminate some patterns. Now, disclaimer, not financial advice by any means. We like to have a little fun on this show and look at these patterns to see if we can distinguish a trend. But here's an example of a cup and handle that went bad. This is a bad cup of coffee, I'll tell you that much. And why do I say that? Because typically the cup and handle pattern that we've seen so many times here on the show is a bullish indicator. It's indicated by a long swooping bottom with an immediate little bit of a down trick and then a breakout to the upside with the cup and handle. But here's an example of a chart. This almost looks like a cup and handle that went bad. So with Magic the Gathering, look at this. You got this U-shaped cup, and then we've got the handle happening right here. But then what happened? The cup and handle is supposed to be a bullish trend. And then it looks like that failed us. Just a sad cup of coffee, and it's been heading down ever since. This card could have been maybe nixed with something, a reprint. The volatility behind this it's to me, I can't explain it. What happened? Yuriko the Tiger's Shadow, Kirik the Son of Yawgmoth, and there's all commander decks that are playing it. Target legendary creature gains fear, so this is expensive because it can give your commander fear and give you a way to swing in for commander damage. The cheap glue off the handle fell off and it shattered onto the floor, right? You'd think a card like this would be good. Did it see an extra reprint? Champions of Kamigawa? The foil is $86 and the regular copy is $28. This was as high as $60 at one point, and now it seems to be trending down. Did the list kill it? When did the list printing come out? It could be. Dominaria United Commander. There we go. That's probably what did it. Right here. Right here. Dominaria United Commander killed this card. It was up to about $60. It saw a reprint, and then now here we are. So when you're looking at these charts and you're trying to distinguish patterns and you think we may be on to something, just keep in mind Magic the Gathering cards a little bit better or a little bit different than stocks or cryptocurrency because reprints can happen at any time. Wizard said, no coffee for you. So the cheap glue fell off this card, but nevertheless, at $30, kind of an expensive card for your movers and shakers list. Anyway, maybe it's a time to pick this one up because it was quite low, or even pick up a copy off the list, which is $16. If legendary matters to you and you want to play this in Commander, why not? Here's a card off the second of the top. Scape Shift. Dalton, you would know well about this card. Was it Valakut that made this card so good in Modern? I think it had something to do with it. We were all screaming. We wanted a reprint from the Scape Shift card. It was getting so high in price. I do like the original Scape Shift art on this. But this one here, or this, yeah, the Scape Shift art here, this original from Morningtide, the foil, let's take a look at the original from Morningtide, especially in the foil variant. The foil variant here was up to as high as $150. Wow, that's expensive for a Magic card, if you ask me. Especially a modern card. Scape Shift, I was really happy to see a reprint of this when it did finally happen, and I think I opened one. But you can see how the reprint here has actually leveled this card off, and it hasn't moved anywhere since. It's still hovering around the $20 mark. Decks playing in it, Gruel Scape Shift, and Gruel Scape Shift. Omnath, the Locus of Creation. Maybe I should be playing this in the lands deck. Perhaps. I'm playing. Let me look at this Omnath. I'm playing on. There's a 5-color Omnath as well, but I'm playing this in the Omnath deck. Let's see. Coiling Oracle, Dockside Extortionist, Saku Tribe Elder, Watcher of Tomorrow, Eternal Witness. I'm going to have to take a look at this deck because I never considered the Scape Shift in a lands deck. Maybe it is. This one's a 4-mana sorcery. You sacrifice any number of lands, and you can search your library for that many lands and put them in the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. So this is basically turns over your lands. You get to sack a bunch of lands, and then it did good. It sucks it didn't get a game in without you. That's okay. You did good. Are you still playing the Niv Mizzet deck? Did you get to blast somebody with the Aether Flux Reservoir? I forgot to ask you. Did you get to shoot somebody in the face with that thing? I hope you did. I really hope you did. That way I know it was put to good use. Scape Shift. You die a card or live long enough to become a mechanic. Speaking of bombs, anyone else watch Oppenheimer? Good morning, Billy of the Hill. Nice to see you here. I'd like to catch up with you over on In the Shell over at Super Fast Hortus's place. So it's nice to have you here. We're talking about your movers and the shakers here this Monday morning. We've got the Scape Shift card from Morning Tide, which was a bomb in Modern at one time with the Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle. That's what we would use to pretty much finish off your opponent, because you could sacrifice any number of lands and then go get as many mountains as you needed. This one here, where do we see it reprinted? Core Set 2019. This is the one I have. I think Mrs. Alphonso opened this one in foil, and I opened one as well. And when this card was hitting, the Morning Tide block was hitting at about $90 to $100. So I was really happy to get this reprint. It's in a case. It's funny how perplexing the reprint market can be. If it's a card you don't have and you see a reprint on it, you're like, thank goodness, I got a reprint on this. Yes. And then if you do have the card and it gets reprinted, you kind of get the feel bad. All right. Did you hear that the world champion tongue twister got arrested? I hear they're going to give him a tough sentence. And a book fell on my head the other day. I only have my shelf to blame. This Scape Shift card definitely moving up in price. I would consider putting this in the Commander Lands deck. I'm thinking about it, but I have to actually get Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle, to go with it, because I am playing red. So Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle, Valakut Exploration, Valakut Invoker. There's a lot of Valakut cards here. Here's the Molten Pinnacle. Here's the one that I think I should play with it. This seems like a win condition maybe in Commander. Enters the battlefield tapped. When a mountain enters the battlefield under your control, if you control at least 5 other mountains, you may have Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle, deal 3 damage to any target. So with Scape Shift, all the mountains enter at the same time, and then it does a whole bunch of damage because they all trigger. Another use, here's a card that I don't understand. It hasn't been moving due to Leyline of the Guild Pack. Let's see. Leyline of the Guild Pack makes all your lands every basic land type. So perhaps $26 for the Zendikar, and then 27 for the foil. This card hasn't really moved. It hasn't moved a lot. Let's keep an eye on this, because Valakut was more expensive, if you ask me. I think it was, well, maybe it's not back to its all-time high, but you would think with cards like Leyline of the Guild Pack being printed, maybe the Valakut is going to see a resurgence in play and constructed. It could be, because the Leyline of the Guild Pack makes all your lands every basic land type. So maybe Valakut gets all that much better, perhaps. Only time will tell. Caught it on Peacock. I missed it in theaters. We're talking about Oppenheimer. We're talking about Valakut. We're talking about the Molten Pinnacle, Scape Shift, and the 3 movingest and shakingest cards you're going to see in the world of Magic the Gathering, the Necro Skitter. This card is $12.99. It's from a set that I am not so familiar with. So we're going to have to take a look at Eventide here for just a minute. is rare. It's got Wither. It deals damage to creatures in the form of -1/-1 counters. Okay, and when a creature an opponent controls with a -1/-1 counter on is put into the graveyard, you may return that card to play under your control. The Necro Skitter is an elemental. So as far as creature type goes, that seems pretty good. uh, Local bakery burned down last weekend here in the town. The entire business is now toast. And if you don't pay your exorcist, you may get repossessed. This next Necro Skitter will be coming looking for your creatures. A great Pearl Jam song. It is too. Little Eddie Vedder, perhaps, right? Eventide. What other versions of this card do we have? And let's take a look. The foil version is $28, so it's about a double, about 100% foil multiplier for this card. I want to see what decks are using it and take a look at the chart on it to see where has this card been before. Is it at a kind of an all-time high, or is this just a retracement in price? Look at this chart. Very interesting. Necro Skitter's been higher before. It took its price up to $15 once upon a time, and then it just kind of went flat for a while. There's got to be some new tech that's coming up here that's moving this card. What decks are using it? Why is this card moving on? Why is it on the movers and the shakers today? Wither, Massacre Girl, the Known Killer. Does she also? I was looking through my collection the other day, just yesterday, and I found an OG Massacre Girl. Very cool card. So this is the new Massacre Girl. Known Killer Menace. Creatures control have Wither. Whenever creature an opponent controls dies, if its toughness was less than 1, draw a card. So it's got to be the new Massacre Girl that's pushing this card to unknown heights. Maybe it's going to see a gradual increase in price. The last time that the Necro Skitter seen a tick up, it hit $15, and now it's poked up against the $10-12 mark, and it could go even higher with the Massacre Girl. We'll see how long that takes to gain a little interest. And this card here, Inexorable Tide, find its way on the movers and the shakers here this morning. This one's up 9%, a mere 9%. Another card from Modern Masters 2015. When you cast a spell, proliferate. This one, I think we saw last year hit the winners list. I think let's pull this chart back and we'll see. I think we will see that this card did hit an all-time high last year. Yes, in 2023, with the dawning of the new Phyrexia All Will Be One set, this card did hit an all-time high of about $15 to $20. Since then, it's kind of relaxed in price. If you wanted to pick it up, might be now the time, or you might have to wait just a little longer to see if you can get a restock on it. Decks playing it is a Tracks of the Praetor's Voice, of course. I'm sitting here painting miniatures. Nice! Oh, that's a great way to spend the morning. I'm glad you could do that with me. And you got me turned to the morning show, watching a little bit of MTG, checking the prices of Magic cards, painting some miniatures. That's very, very cool way to spend the morning, Hot Dice. I'm glad. What are you painting, by the way? Is it Warhammer? And if a cannibal shows up late to a buffet, do they give him the cold shoulder? All right, let's check this out. We've got the Inexorable Tide, Atraxa the Praetor's Voice, Nicol Bolas the Ravager, and Toxthrill the Corrosive. This card is so tough to beat in Commander. D&D Goblins at the moment. Nice. Check out this slug, Toxthrill. He's really hard to deal with. There's a foil in our play group that plays him, and it's really, really tough to beat. Now, if you're going to play against Toxthrill, I suggest you have something in your deck like Emergence Zone or Born Upon a Wind that'll allow you to play at flash speed, because you're going to have to deal with this thing on the Toxthrill players, or in turn rotation on the player in front of you's end step. Okay, so this card, during every single turn, each end step, each creature in play gets a slime counter on it, and then creatures that are not controlled by Toxthrill's owner get -1/-1 for each slime counter on it. So how are you going to deal with that? If it goes in full turn order, It's going to kill everything that's got 4 toughness or greater, just in 1 turn rotation. Quite devastating and hard to deal with. Well, I found a way that I could play around it with a great card that I like from War of the Spark. It's a land, and if you want to playing at flash speed is very good. Now here's a cheap way to actually get a creature into play on turn order or your opponent's end step before it comes into play, and then you can dodge that pesky slime counter for 1 turn. Now that's a slime against humanity. Love the Toxrill. He's really good. I don't love him because I'm not playing him, so I'm trying to find ways to beat it. It's very good. I would love it if I was playing it. I can see why. But the emergence zone is quite good. You can pay 1 tap and sacrifice it, and then cast spells this turn as though they had flash. This can actually get you to win the game. If you're worried about your creatures getting killed to Toxrill, you want to have something like this on the battlefield so you can flash them in before your early opponent's end step, and then you got to have to try and take care of them. I bought that double feature box, haven't slipped into a deck yet. And then we've got Inexorable Tide up the top. Kozilek Butcher of Truth. I've actually got 1 copy of this, and I wonder how far Kozilek has fallen over the last few years. This one's the 2015 edition. I think I've got a foil version of it, $50. All the Eldrazi were worth actually a pretty penny at one time. Seems like they've kind of fallen out in favor, but like a look at the chart on Kozilek, it was one of these really, really powerful Eldrazi's that's seen a $60 price tag in Dominaria, drifted down to 45 and around War of the Spark, and hit $100 in and around Strixhaven. That might have been a good time to vendor or buy list my Kozilek. Hopefully he comes back to what he once was. No more printings of Kozilek for a little while. And now he's sort of leveled off at around the $40 mark. So the Butcher of Truth, quite good. He's got an Annihilator 4. He costs 8 mana. Is it the 8 mana one? I think it is. 8 mana. No, 10 mana Kozilek. 12/12 enters the battlefield. You draw 4. When you cast it, you draw 4 cards. So it's quite good. Drawing 4 cards never a bad thing. You get the cast trigger. Even if it's countered, you're still going to draw those 4 cards. I think it's got Annihilator 4, yes. And when it's put into anywhere from the graveyard from anywhere, you get to shuffle your graveyard into your library. So quite good card. It was worth about $100. The foil version's now about 50. Been trending down in price, and I don't think this card's, well, it'd be sad to see it go any lower. I don't know when we're going to see another reprint of Eldrazi sets, but Kozilek quite good. And now there's even colorless commander decks that are starting to play Eldrazi using Liberator Urza's Battlethopter. So I was going to see here if we had a Liberator on here. I don't see Liberator or as Battlethopter as a colorless commander, but the Kozilek would definitely be an include. And then with the Liberator or as Battlethopter, if you're playing it in commander, you can cast the Kozilek at flash speed. So another way to fill your hand up with the Eldrazi. Kozilek, the Butcher of Truth, part of the group here this morning. We're moving and shaking here on the morning show here, Morning Talks and Stocks. We got the feast and famine. You guys folks hungry this morning? Get yourself something to eat. Maybe a piece of, grab your sword of feast and famine and shave some ramen. Grab your sword of feast and famine, make some ramen, shave some hamon. It'll be delicious. Isn't Emrakul like $25 now? Yeah, let's check it. Let's check Emrakul. We do need to check Emrakul. Which one? The Aeon's Torn or the Promised End? Aeon's Torn. We'll check them both. Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn. Double Masters, the reprint. Let's take a look at this one here. Aeon's Torn, 17. Double Masters. What's the biggest one? Pro Tour foil is $58. The Rise of Eldrazi, the OG, $24. Ultimate Masters, the foil from Rise of the Eldrazi still holding at a clean $175. But holy smokes, talk about a fall from grace. Was it any higher? It was. It was as much as $250. So the Eldrazi seems to have fallen from grace a little bit. And the Promised End is another good one. I would like to get the Emrakul the Promise End. It's like I've got that Mindslaver ability so that I can sack my opponent's lands to a card name. This the blue one that lets you every player sack lands. All right, a blind man walks into a bar, a table, and a chair, and he gets himself a sword of feast and famine. The bartender looks at him and says, "Sorry, sir, we don't serve spirits here." What creature gets +2/+2, has protection from black and from green, and whenever an equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card and you untap all lands you control. Wow. I actually should put this in my lands deck with a winter orb or something that's going to cause you. Yes, I like where this is. It's Fallen Fire Mill Master, my brother. I had a BGS 10 of it. Oh, perhaps this is something to play with a Winter Orb or a Stasis deck, something that taps all lands and keeps them tapped. This might be a way to untap your stuff. If you can equip this to a creature that's unblockable quite easily to hit your opponent, I'm going to have to make a little note of this card as well, because Scape Shift and the Sword of Feast and Famine might be a good way to untap some lands if you're playing a prison deck. You're playing an interesting prison deck. And I also have Ardent and Intrepid Archaeologist, Rograk, and Son of Roga. Azoria, Stoneblade, Jeskai Control. Well, the swords are quite popular. I think this is just reprint equity. Look at all the versions of the swords. I was excited about the swords when I saw them printed in Kaladesh Inventions, and it looks like this one's the most expensive one, the Kaladesh Inventions. But now it seems like the swords are going to be getting reprinted over and over and over again. A new sword in a set might be a different way to do it. Root Maze into Winter Orb, so mean. Let's take a look. Dark Slick Shores. This is a black blue. It's a Dimir land. Enters tapped unless you control 2 or fewer other lands. Maybe Dimir is getting a bit of a tick up in price. The Dark Slick Shores. And Ulamog the Infinite Gyre. This is the one that when you cast it, you get to exile 2. You get to exile a target permanent. This is so good it hits your lands. Rule of thumb, at first you don't succeed. Try doing what Brody told you to do the first time. Ulamog the Infinite Gyre. This guy will give you as many gyres as you need. Infinite gyres, in fact. He will gyrate and he'll irate you till the point where you completely give up. All right, I have a few jokes about unemployed people, but none of them actually work, so I'll skip them for today. I mean, the communist jokes aren't funny unless everybody gets them, so I'll skip those for today. We've got the Ulamog Infinite Gyre, another Eldrazi here taking. Look at the fall from grace on the Ulamog. Another, him and Kozlik are seemingly unemployed, right? They haven't had a lot of work these days. They're definitely definitely infinitely less good as they were a few years ago. This one, all the Eldrazi were in and around $100. Each and every one of them was money, but now these boys are seemingly unemployed, and there's nobody who really wants to play with them. It could mean that they're a decent time to pick up a copy of them, but nonetheless, picking up Eldrazi at $50 or $60 is not something that I want to do. I'd rather try and open them if they get reprinted in a new set, and there's other stuff on the reserve list that I'd be much more interested in spending some money on. Rather than that, I'd probably like to get some more commander cards. So buying $50 or $60 Eldrazi doesn't really appeal to me. Maybe I'm wrong. Perhaps perhaps it appeals to you, but these things, even though they're appearing on the movers and the shakers list for modern here on Monday, it's definitely an indication that these cards are taking a tick up in price. But when we look back, they've actually come down quite a lot. So up 3% for, or 2 or 3% for an Eldrazi that used to be $150. I mean, it shows up on the radar, but it definitely doesn't really give us too much confidence that these cards are going to return at all to where they once were. Dual Brain, do you think Eldrazi are ever going to return to the $100 $100 bill mark. I know that the few of the original ones from Rise of the Eldrazi are still commanding 125 bucks in foil, but I can't see the Eldrazi really taking a tick back to the $100 mark where they once were. There's just too many prints on it. They're in the list now, unless the Eldrazi become good. I think these things will soften up in price a little bit more and end up coming down to a $25 or $30 mark. Maybe I'm shooting myself in my foot, but I'm going to keep a hold on the copy of the Kozilek that I have, just because might want to play it. Damn Nation, right? There's a movie called Damn Nation. It's all about dams. All right, we'll see if this thing destroys all creatures and puts them in the graveyard. Puts them in a coffin and puts them in the graveyard. Everything gets destroyed, and it makes you ask the question: will glass coffins ever be successful? Well, it remains to be seen. Remains to be seen in a glass coffin, right? Damnation will put all these creatures in the bin, destroying every one of them. They can't be regenerated. Time flies like a banana and fruit flies. Time flies like an arrow and fruit flies like a banana. This card is from Planar Chaos. You know, another card that I like from Planar Chaos was the Simian Spirit Guide. This card, what's it worth? This is the equivalent of Wrath of God in black. The CMC is exactly the same. Instead of 2 white and 2 black, or 2 white and 2 colorless, we got 2 black and 2 colorless. There's a card that was really expensive, 60 bucks. Holy smokes, I remember this card. This isn't even going back that far to 2017. It was $60. So once black got the equivalent of Wrath, let's go to like the revised edition. It's kind of funny to see how like the color pie can do amazing things. This Wrath of God, this was the white version for 2 white and 2. Destroy all creatures, they can't be regenerated. It art also the same but inverted. Is that right? Oh, the art is the same but inverted. Very interesting. Is this the card you mean? Is this the card you're looking for? It's the same but inverted. It is. So once we got the black Wrath of God for 2 black and 2, that was expensive and it ended up being about 60 bucks. Well, the white one stayed around $4 to $6 mark. But it just went to 8th edition Wrath of God is the good art. Okay, let's take a look at that one. The 8th edition one? Let's find it. Pro Tour online, lots of versions of the Wrath of God. When it just tells you how much people really wanted to destroy all creatures in black. Oh, here we go. Thank you for that, Mill Master. So this is the one, the 8th edition, Wrath of God. Same art but inverted. Very cool. Thank you for shedding that here this morning, Mill Master. A little bit of Magic the Gathering Easter eggery here this morning. So the Damnation, we call it Bro Nation. That's the card. It's Bro Nation. I mean, if you can survive mustard gas, pepper spray, you'd be a seasoned veteran. And if you can survive a Wrath of God or perhaps uh, Damnation, you'll be even better off. So Damnation and Force of Bronation, Damnation, Wrath of God, and Force of Negation. Here's a card that's 50 bucks. How high did this go? This was quite good. I know we're going to see more reprints of it, and it's quite good in many formats. A card that you must include if you're playing blue and any kind of permission deck, counter spells. It works well on your opponent's turn. We can get the exile a card from your hand to pay for its mana cost. I thought I'd seen this go as high as $200 at one point in time. No, 100 bucks. A quick hundo is as high as this card did go. It did go up to 100 in Modern Horizons too when it was printed. Now it sees a cushion of about 50 bucks. It's going to see more reprints. If you can open it, hold on to it. I would say there's going to be an evergreen card that's good for a very long time. Running out and spending 100 on a Force of Negation, probably other. I get one at the price it is now, but I would try and open this. These printed cards, these that are current printings and current versions of cards that are $50 to $100, just drives me mad. I have a real tough time not buying packs or a box and trying to open it. Quite expensive, but nevertheless, I see this card being played in just about every modern deck that's out there. It plays blue. It's also played in Legacy, Commander, and many other formats. It's Monday. It's Monday. It's a fun day. And for you folks who are getting on your way here this morning, I want to thank you for tuning in. On the morning show, I've got maybe one quick article to read to you folks before we go. And everybody tuning in here, the cup of coffee is just about down to the last drupal. I'm drinking my coffee black this morning. I couldn't get any milk. It was an utter failure. Let's read one more article here. I've got an interesting one for you folks I'd like to share. And if you folks want to sit and paint miniatures wherever you are starting your day, it's Monday, getting ready to kick the dog. Let's do one quick more article here before we got to hit the road. Brody Alphonso's got to get off and doing business here this morning. So let's take a look at this one card, this article, and this powerful Magic the Gathering Karlov Manor enchantment that's got plenty of untapped and uncracked potential. Let's take a look at this card here and discuss it with you here this morning. What is the card? This powerful MTG Karlov Manor enchantment's got plenty of uncracked potential, and over the last few weeks, we've got to see the murder set cards in action. Surprisingly, the talk of the town has been the Leyline of the Guild Pack, which we covered here this morning, was one of the winners of the week last week. The Scion of Draco and the Crashing Footfalls, all articles that we like to cover here. While all eyes have been on the flashy rare and other powerful enchantments been making its way, is this